The title of our video is Let's Get On With It. We'll describe what that means in a moment, but first, please take just a quick second to subscribe to LilyTube and hit the bell to receive notifications.
Cathy and I believe healing is a very important and vital part of dating after we have loved and lost. Through a hard breakup, maybe a bitter divorce, or even the devastating loss of a spouse to death. Now, if this has happened to you recently, please take the time you need to heal. And only you can decide how much healing needs to happen before dating again, how long that's going to take. I'm going to tell you actually too, a lot of armchair psychologists are going to give you all kinds of ideas about how long it should take you. Maybe it's a year. Maybe it's 1 month for every year you were married. Maybe, it's 1 year for every year you were married. I mean, there's all kinds of people with all kinds of opinions. But it depends on you and where you are in the grieving process. Having said all of that, we do want to provide some words of caution to prevent your entire life from becoming an act of perpetual healing. Lots of people get stuck in the cycle of taking time to work on myself and never really get around to moving on with their lives.
Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr. said, "Many people die with their music still in them. Why is this so? Too often it is because they are always getting ready to live. Before they know it, time runs out."
If you decide to take more time getting ready to live, check your underlying motives and ask yourself, is this the comfortable and easy way out to avoid self-confronting or emotionally risking? Working on yourself means a lot of self-confronting. It's hard work. Taking more time to heal is often an excuse to stay in our comfort zones, which doesn't necessarily serve us.
Take the time you need to heal, but heal actively. Read elevating books and be willing to apply the messages to your own self. Go to coaching or counseling for pre-dating therapy. Do lots of journaling. If you are doing take more time right, it is harder than dating, which is why so many of us get stuck not ever being ready to date. Be intentional about your healing process.
Cathy, I've sometimes thought, and I've even gone through this with coaching clients, that let's suppose you could pick 100 random people off the street in your age range. How many of those would you be physically attracted to? Maybe 20? And out of that number, how many would meet the most important criteria you have for selecting a spouse? Maybe 5? Now, out of those 5 who meet your criteria, how many of those do you expect to have a real connection with? 1 if you're lucky. What are the chances from there that you'll both choose marriage with each other? After all, you're not going to get to date all 20 people that you're attracted to, right? Because a bunch of them won't want to date you. So this kind of illustrates the messy business of finding the right fit and how it takes time. Time you don't want to spend constantly getting ready to live.
Jeff, based on what you just shared, I want to ask our audience, how many people can you date seriously if you're single? I mean, we've been talking about this and we're thinking maybe max 1 per year. I mean, of course we can date a lot of people, not seriously, but when we're talking about a serious relationship, we really can't do a lot of those. And we recently released a podcast on serial dating, LilyPod episode 75. This is the best way to sift through to find that 1 out of 100 that might be worth making a dating commitment with. Being really clear about the 3 to 5 things that are most important for you in a companion so that you can consciously and intentionally ask the right questions relatively early on will help you eliminate any prospects who don't have these deal breaker qualities. Be as sure as you possibly can that they are worth the risk of your exclusive time and focus.
Cathy, during my 8 years as a mid-single, I dated many women. But the number that I actually got serious with and maybe even contemplated marriage was only 5. I chose my eternal companion from a group of 5 women. How many people do you have time to date for 6 months to a year and ultimately choose not to marry?
You know, I dated a lot of men, just as you dated many women, and it doesn't bother us. In fact, we really appreciate the experiences we had when we were dating. We appreciate the friendships that we made and the lessons that we learned, and we feel ultimately very chosen by one another because we dated a lot. Now, I think I dated maybe 80 people on, like, as far as first dates go. And then I think I maybe dated a little more seriously about a dozen. I think I only became committed to maybe 4. So like Jeff, a very select few.
Right, so the reason for bringing up all these numbers is not to make dating a numbers game, although it is to some degree. It's really to say, you know, how many cars do you have the opportunity to test drive? Well, in terms of dating, to really practice a serious relationship with someone, you can't date 100 people seriously. You can't date 50 people seriously. So it's important not to wait forever to be able to move forward and start looking for that one special person, because it only has to work once. It only does work once, hopefully. And so that's kind of where we're at.
Well, and I discovered for myself, it doesn't really work until you're ready for it anyway. So you might as well start putting your feelers out there, start making friends, start developing relationships that aren't necessarily serious at first while you're doing your healing.
And figure out what your tribe is, who you like associating with. But don't ultimately die wondering, what if, having your music still in you? What if I had healed faster and with more intent? What if I'd met the love of my life and lived my best years in later life? Don't end up with those regrets. When we talk about finding love in later years, we aren't talking about you putting it off until later. As Terry McKay said in the famous Hollywood movie with Cary Grant and Deborah Carr, you remember An Affair to Remember? Well, Terry McKay says, "Winter must be cold for those with no warm memories." And she observed, "We've already missed the spring." We're encouraging you to start building warm memories right now. Many of us made marriages in the springtime of our lives that were filled with drama or coldness or bitterness. Start with loving yourself enough to heal as quickly as possible. As life coaches, we can help support you with that. And once you start dating and find yourself being triggered by innocuous behaviors, we can help you see that opportunity in those moments to heal and release those things rather than letting them derail you. We can help you manage your thoughts around those kinds of issues and help you move forward in a healthy and joyful way.
You know, I think sometimes people assume that with the title of our organization being Love in Later Years, and with us talking a lot about dating in our organization and on our social media, that we're just dating coaches. And yes, we can definitely coach people who are in the middle of dating relationships and want to have some guidance and some support with that effort, but we're also pre-dating coaches. We would love to help anyone who doesn't feel ready to date to get ready and to do this healing that we're talking about intentionally and putting in the effort that really makes it effective and timely.
Even when we coach on dating, we're not coaching on gamesmanship, pickup lines, strategies. That's not what we do. If you want that, go find somebody else. For us, it's about who you are and how you show up in relationships that matters a lot more than trying to think of tricky ways to get people to go out with you.
Absolutely. You know, we're not suggesting that you have an obligation to date or remarry. We just know that most people are happiest when they are happily partnered. The courage to love starts with the courage to intentionally heal and self-confront. The courage to date requires a willingness to risk rejection and otherwise be triggered and learn how to release trauma as things come up. Dating and later in life marriages will contribute to even more healing. Dr. Greg Bear's suggestion for getting ready to date is to be more healed. We would suggest that once you've started on that intentional healing journey, you will have plenty of opportunities to continue that healing process as you date and create new relationships that will challenge you in the best of ways.
Thank you for watching this video. Let us know your thoughts and experiences with healing from dating after loss in the comments. And please remember, anytime is a great time for more love in your life.